back to another One Chart lesson. Today we are doing the fantastic song by Tame Impala called Elephant. It's also been done, strangely enough, by the Wiggles, and I'm going to take you through the slight variations that the Wiggles have added to this song in their own inimitable style. But now that we are into it, I'm going to take you through the Tame Impala version first, and then I'm going to show you the differences that are involved in the Wiggles version. If you want to skip straight through to the Wiggles bits, knock yourself out. And of course, I'll put the links below so you can get to those spots. To get this kind of sound you need a dirty kind of fuzzy distortion, nothing with too much treble or tops on it, and nothing with too much clarity. So it's got that kind of old school, almost 70s kind of fuzz sound. The chords and the key to this song, it's basically all D minor, right? But we don't use a lot of those higher notes in this song. It's mostly sort of power chords or chords with the lower notes in them. So when you do a D minor, don't worry too much about strumming these top two strings, your B and E strings. You're mainly going for that, and the note on the B string is what turns this chord into a D minor rather than just a generic D or a D5 or a D power chord. But as long as you get that sound and don't play a D major, because that's not what you want to hear unless you're doing the Wiggles parts, but we'll get to that. Now, what they also do, you'll hear, if you're playing this by yourself, then you'll want to kind of cover the bit that the bass does, which is going from A to D. Whenever we're playing that D minor chord, or almost all the time when the D minor chord is on, the bass is going. So we can simply just do that by lifting that finger off the A string and back onto the 5th fret. So you get this kind of. What I'm doing here, of course I'm strumming with my fingers here, so this makes it a little bit easier, but on the pick version, if you like, if you're using a pick, what I'm trying to do here is just muffle that E string. So as we strum this D minor chord, it makes lifting that A string off to the open string a lot easier because you don't have to worry about hitting that E string. Now, if you're playing with a pick, you can just be more precise, so you miss the E string, or you can kind of try and muffle it with a little bit of your hand here. Or if you're one of those players that is comfortable putting your thumb around the top of the neck, you can muffle your E string like that. In fact, that's probably the thing that most people will go to if they're playing with a pick. I've always found it a little bit awkward putting my thumb over the top of the neck like that, but I know a lot of people can do it. So that's basically how you get that sound, right? Now, one of the funky little things in this song is that accent they play going up to that F, and that really is just an F power chord. There's only 2 notes that you need to play there to get that little accent. Where it comes is, I've put this on your chart, I've put a little F in the very top right hand corner of a bar when it lands on the 4 and beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's on the 4 and. Then you stay there for the first beat of the next bar. So when that happens, I've put a little F in the very top left hand corner of the next bar, and that means the little accent on the first beat of the bar, and then you change chords to the next bar. So it sounds like this. I'll run across the top line of your chart, which is the same for the Wiggles chart, by the way. They've done a pretty faithful rendition of this. They've just inserted some wiggly bits. So that's the first 2 bars. At the end of that second bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the next, you do that on an upstroke because of where that beat lands. You don't have to, but it's if you're doing this rhythm going all downstrokes, then obviously it's a downstroke. But if you're going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, which kind of seems to me the most natural way to play this rhythm, then the first F on the 4 and comes on the upstroke, and then the next F accent is on a downstroke on the 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'll do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? Sometimes you're going to the G, sometimes you're going back to the D minor. That's how you do that accent. And whenever you see those little Fs on your chart, that's what's happening. The 4 and at the end of the bar, the 1 on the beginning of the bar. And it's pretty much the same for the Wiggles version, with the exception of maybe one accent here or there, but I've tried to make it as accurate as possible on both charts. So once you do that, the next time you do that accent, you go to the G, and then back to the D minor for 2 bars. And then you do this little power chord riff, starting on the A, and you go, and you finish that short on the G. So it's A sharp, A, G sharp, A, G sharp, G, and you stop on the G, right? So, and then back into the, so once more. Hit that repeat sign, you do that first verse all over again, exactly the same way. Go through that exactly the same way, do the riff, and then the second time you go through that section, it goes straight into another verse. Again with the accents, landing on the D minor. This time through, on what is the third verse, this time they do a slightly different riff, and it goes like this. Now, they go lower, and the bass is doing it as well, but we can't get down to that E flat and the D right at the end. So we have to go C, B, B flat, A, and then come up to this G up here on the 5th fret of the D string, down to the F, E, E flat, D. And when you land on the D, you can land on a D power chord, a D minor, D bar chord, either way. Then a bar of D minor then also holds or rests for the following bar. Then we get to the bit that the Wiggles have added something to, but if you're doing the Tame Impala version, we just charge on through and it moves into the solo. Now the solo, we don't do as much of that bass note lifting on and off, going from the A to the D, but it's, again, 4 bars of D minor, follow, and without the accents, into a couple of bars of G, then the G turns into a G minor, and it does three beats of G minor, 1, 2, 3, and then back into the D minor that way. So what that is 1, 2, 3, start on the E, which is the 2nd fret D string. That's the first beat of the next bar. The F. Open G string. Then down to the E, the low E string. And then play it again. And you hammer on to the F, to the 1st fret. And hammer again to the 3rd fret, to the G. And then back to the D minor. That's how you played that riff. And you'll come across that riff again during the song. After that, we're back to 4 bars of D minor. Then we do the other riff. And it kind of is a little bit subdued. Then you hit another repeat sign and go back to the start of the solo section again. Do that whole 16 bar section again. Then you're back into 4 bars of D minor, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of G minor. This time you don't do that riff, you just hold that G minor, and then you're back into the last line of that first page, which is 4 bars of D minor, into that riff, and then you're best off if you're using a bar chord there for the last 2 D minors of the page, because you're going to hit on the 4 and you're going to hit that F accent again, into the last verse or into the last two verses. And you play those the same way as you played the first two verses without the riffs in them. So they're just D minors, Gs and D minors, right? Go through that. On the very last line, you play this, and then there's a drum fill comes in. It kind of goes into free time. There's not a really strong count in there until it comes back into the, and what it does there is it ends on the third beat of that second bar of D minor. It's pretty clear on your chart. I hope I've marked it out as clearly as I can, and that's the entire song. So once you get your fingers around those riffs, it's just a matter of putting that all together. So hopefully that was helpful. Now, if you want to do the Wiggles version of this song, you're pretty much playing it exactly the same way, but when you get to the end of the third verse, so on your chart, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, at the end of the fourth line, they put in this fruit salad section, where now they're playing a D major to a B minor, right? And that's really the change that they make. That's kind of, make what you will of it. And then when they move into the solo section, it's kind of the same, but they've changed the order of the little riffs that Tame Impala do during that solo section, and I've made that accurate in the chart. So follow the chart for the Wiggles version, and you'll get all the riffs in the right places. They're slightly different for the original Tame Impala version. And then the only other change, once you get through that solo section, is when it gets to the end of the song, and instead of, after that, the big drum fill that goes into free time, Wiggles, that is, instead go back into that fruit salad version just for 2 bars. And then hit the D to finish. And that's it. So I hope you found that useful. It's a great song by Tame Impala. It's very interesting that the Wiggles did what they did to it, and if you're not from this country, maybe you don't know, this country being Australia, if you're not from this country, maybe you don't know about the Wiggles, and maybe you don't care about the Wiggles, and that's okay. Tame Impala is where it's at. Elephant, fantastic song. Thanks for watching. Hope you had fun with it. Please let me know if you've got any questions, and we hope to see you back here again soon.